pleasant evening to everyone. Hello to our Facebook and YouTube viewers and our participants. Welcome to the StackLeague GDG CDO, How to Create a Simple Style Guide for Design Development Handoff. I am Jewel and I will be your host for tonight's event. I would like to remind everyone that if you have any questions regarding StackLeague or anything about these sessions, you can type them in the comment section. We'll address them later at the Q&A section. Also, our generous speaker will do a short Q&A for you about the topic after the talk. The first commenter with the correct answer will receive cash prizes via GCash. Before we dive into tonight's sessions, we would like you to give an overview of StackLeague. Carl Saki of StackLeague will help me with that. Take it away, Carl.
Thank you, Jewel. Good evening, everyone. Again, I am Carl. I will be sharing with you a quick overview of StackLeague. StackLeague is the Philippines' largest online programming league. Our mission is to develop programming leaders that inspire the nation into coding. The tournament is powered by StackTrek's fully automated talent analytics and assessment platform. But the partners and sponsors, now in its second competitive year, StackLeague wouldn't be possible without the support of our partners. We're fortunate to be supported by the top companies in the industry. We have silver sponsors, including Coding Shift and bronze sponsors, Microsoft, Dell Tech Systems, Upper.ph, Recruitday, and GCash. Our media partners, including Spark UP, Apps Gadget, What's Pilipinas, Corridor Magazine, PH, Android It, Megabyte, Backend News, Bluewing, and Manila Republic. The same goes for our community partners who help the league reach as many programmers in the country as possible. Here they are. For the Stock League highlights, this pioneering programming league was launched last year, March 16, 2021, and is now gathering over 10,000 tech talents across the country to test their leadership, perseverance, and coding skills with the promise of nationwide media recognition, lots of prizes, thousands of tech job opportunities, and access to invitation-only events. The league's year-round cash prize pool is now at 10 million in the duration of the whole competition. One of the highlights in Stock League is weekly stock race for both individual and team categories. Each week, the top 10 challengers and the top 3 teams are announced all across Stock League's social media platform to recognize the challengers who stay on top of the rankings. Apart from this, we also have the Stock League Future Programmer and Team Campaign. The weekly top 10 challengers and top 3 teams are going to be featured on Stock League's website and our social media channels. Stock League will also be hosting numerous tech and career sessions all throughout the year. Aside from this, there are also exclusive trainings available for ranking up to the next challenger levels. These events and training are all for free. The Stock League Ambassador Program is a year-round initiative to reward Stock League challengers who go beyond the competition and inspire the nation into coding. To tell you more about the Stock League Ambassador Program, here's a short clip for you. Congratulations to Darren Pablo for being the Stock League Ambassador for March, winning the 3,000 pesos cash prize and the Stock League t-shirt. If you want to be the next Stock League Ambassador and win the cash prize and t-shirt, the program is now open for April. You can find the full mechanics on our website at bit.ly/StockLeagueAmbassador 2022. For the ranking system in initial competition, There are five supported programming languages in StackLeague, including JavaScript, Java, Python, C Sharp, and PHP. This is how the ranking system works. After signing up, you start at the bottom with 0 points. All you need to do is solve as many challenges as you can and earn the corresponding points. So the more points you earn, the higher your ranking goes. Once you have accumulated enough points, you can now get to the next level challenges, where more opportunities are unlocked for you to access. There are three challenger levels: bronze, silver, and gold levels. The new thing for this year's challenger level up is the prizes. To unlock the bronze level, you will receive 100 pesos. To unlock the silver level, you will receive also 100 pesos. To unlock the gold level, you will receive 300 pesos. For individual category, there is also the Stock League Treasure Chest individual category, wherein the weekly top 10 challengers will each receive 500 pesos cash prize. For the Stock League Playoffs, we also have the Stock League Playoffs. Stock League Playoffs is a single elimination tournament featuring all monthly qualifiers where all weekly top 10 Stock League challengers will automatically be invited to the monthly qualifier rounds. You can read the mechanics at bit.ly/StockLeague Playoffs 2022. To know more, here's another tip for you. And that's it for the overview of Stock League. And remember that as a year-round tournament, Stock League is looking for the best challengers that can stay up in the ranks and become programming leaders for the long haul. That's all on my end. Back to you, Jewel.
Thank you, Carl, for giving a short introduction of StackLeague. Let's not delay any further. Google Developer Group Cagayan de Oro is a group of developers that foster learning of Google's developer technologies. Since December 2012, they have organized free events for students and professionals that tackle the latest Google technologies and how they can integrate it to their day-to-day projects. Google Developer Group Cagayan de Oro is one of the GDG chapters in Mindanao, Philippines. They have two active subchapters, namely GDG Bukidnon and GDG Iligan. Our source speaker is a designer and a tech community leader. She is a Women Tech Maker Ambassador of Cagayan de Oro and the event manager of GDG CDO. She is also a career shifter. Early in her career, she worked as a web developer to a software QA, and now settled in as a designer. She specialized in UI design and building design systems. Growing up with a family of educators, she has been enthusiastic about leading organization where she contributes her passion on giving back to her local community through volunteering, speaking, mentoring, and organizing inclusive tech programs that aims to promote learning and career progression. Lastly, she is a certified cat lover. Let's give a warm welcome to Estella Bravo.
All right. Okay. I hope I'm live, right? All right. Yeah. Hello, everyone, and good evening. And thank you so much for dear host for introducing me. And yes, tonight I'm gonna be a. All right. So I'm hoping that I'm not choppy and you can see my screen clearly. And yep, I'm gonna be talking about the developer handoff. So it's going to be just a simple demo later. So I'm gonna tackling on what process is this all about and why is it necessary or was it helpful to include this in your process during your product like your product development. So yeah, certified cat lover. That is one of my cats out of eight cats. Yeah. So anyway, in this talk, I'll be introducing to you my primary tool, Figma, and I believe that everyone is quite familiar about Figma, especially in the tech community, right? So I'll introduce to you what is a style guide, what is design handoff, and before creating and after handoff, what's happening on this like processes, and yeah, a bit of a demo later on what this design handoff is all about, and what does it look like. So first, yep, Figma. It is an editor prototyping tool used by designers, and also they have like FigJam, the same way that works with InVision, Whimsical or Miro, that they just launched last year. They both work on web based. They have a desktop for both macOS and Windows, and I think they just launched as well an enhanced um, version of their mobile app where you can actually view your projects using your mobile devices. Very convenient. And yeah, so let's proceed to what is style guide, why it matters, and what's the significance of this like of these documentations involving in your design handoff. So yeah, style guide as itself, like the name itself, is actually a guidelines. It should be something that a documentation where developers could understand the limitations and what is the product all about. So it focuses on the visual elements like the colors, the typography, iconography, and illustrations. It style guide should be able to convey or communicate to your team, not just the developers, but it should be able to like show the like the usage of each element in your product or your project. So yeah, it helps avoid back and forth repeating conversation, those looping conversations that just like creating bottlenecks and misunderstanding in between the progress of your product. And what is design handoff, and what are like I'm gonna I think tell you some underlying causes that perhaps like why handoff is not as successful as we want it to be. So some of these handoff actually is that there's unnecessary meetings, unnecessary feedback loops or multiple feedback loops between the designer and developers, or perhaps that misunderstanding and not meeting halfway of what tools you both are going to use. So tooling is very important on your process. Like what are the tools that you're going to use for design? What are the tools that you're gonna use to track your progress. And I think like those are like one of the major causes of why your handoff between the design and the developers are not really successful and not smooth. So it also like the inability to communicate about some tools that will actually help you with like progress faster with the development, like the software development, and to also like properly, I guess, like properly take advantage of this new tool emerging and adapting it on your processes. So there are some that I think like perhaps there are people perhaps in your workplace or like even like in the team. I think that there's students joining, I guess, that actually fails to adapt to new tools. They some would just think that because it works before, like why should we use the new one? So it's like this kind of mindset, I guess, is one of the factor why this design handoff is actually causing like really troubles and like just like those repeating misunderstanding and communications, these repeating meetings and necessary meetings that we have, and after the meeting there's like nothing that's resolved. Yeah, I think like those are just some of it, and the issues that actually haven't really convey or communicate throughout the team. So that those are like challenges or like bottlenecks that actually causing why design handoff ends up being just a waste and like a waste of energy and time for both the designers and the entire team as it is. So the advantage of practicing this one, um, yep. So practicing this as part of the process, I'm not really familiar if like most of the companies do this, but yeah, like there's a lot of an IT company, like even like non-industry company perhaps practices this kind of rituals, like not skipping it is because that it actually enables both designers and developers to speak the same language. When I say that speaks the same language, it means that you both understood the kind of terminologies that you're actually speaking to. For example, if my developer doesn't really or not familiar with the word design handoff, like this keyword, then I think that would be something that you could introduce to them and give them an overview on what is it all about. So before jumping off to really like just throwing any documents to them, and also, I believe that designers should be designing for developers and users rather than designing for yourself. This is one of the like I think like one of the observation over the past years that I've been in a design field that um, it's just a lack of like thinking or like mindset that you as a designer, one of your responsibility is to create a design that is actually developer friendly. So what's like some of these things that if we're gonna skip it on not really like minding who's using or who's viewing, let's say your design is I think like kind of like creating a friction in between your like developer, perhaps your other teammates in a product, I mean a software product progression. And then it also like reduces knowledge gap in between the parties, and it helps everyone in the team to have this like one I think like meet halfway on what is actually like the right typography scale, what other colors should be used, and also keeping the conversion of the design into development consistent. It does really helps a lot, especially with the basic foundation of visual design or the user interface design, like the spacing, the proportion, and the alignment of every element that you're gonna put in your like in your project. Let's say web app. Um, a like simplest one would be the landing pages. So I think like design handoff documentation is gonna help with meeting halfway everyone in the team and avoid those misunderstanding and misuse of the like visual elements, and narrowing down all this like system in the like in your product. So there are like some experience that I actually have that when we try to have like the semantic colors, like a lot of them, 10 different shades, and I think like recently we just observed that yeah, it's actually like causing misunderstanding. Sometimes we see that some of the designers, especially if you turn over your project to like another designer, that the header color, let's say like the header color should be gray 900. Let's say that's the code, gray 900, and then other designer would just like use gray 800. And I don't know, like it's me as a designer, like I can actually like pinpoint the difference between the like the hashtag or the like the hashtag 000 to a hashtag 010101. I don't know, like it's quite amazing like how you the designer's eyes are actually being trained, like pinpointing like yeah, there's a difference between these two shades. So the designer will resolve that on giving guidelines on the usage of every visual elements in your product. So yeah, what we're gonna do beforehand, of course, there would be prerequisites, I must say, and like preparations that the team should do before you create your handoff documentation. So of course, you have to meet your developers halfway and discuss the design and development requirements and limitations. Um, like actually, it helps if this discussion happens earlier, um, earlier in the product development, or like when you're just discussing the software, like the product requirements. It's just to like avoid like the misuse of your energy and time on creating something that is actually ending up getting useless. So meeting your developers as well, especially those who doesn't know what a handoff design handoff is, allowing them to understand the importance, like why should we involve it in as part of the process in between, like why just not give it right away to me right after you finish, um, let's say creating the landing page, like the home page. Those are just some questions like to enable your team understood the importance and significance of this and the advantage of this process. So semantic naming, I'm not so sure if everyone familiar with semantic naming, but yeah, it's actually like a way or a technique on name a naming convention. Like if I can say an example, let's say let's name the color system, like the primary color of a product. If you're gonna view my slide, let's say that the green is actually like what I use, right? So it means that the green in here is the primary color. But if you're gonna name primary color in your documentation as primary dash green, and this is the hex code, then I don't think so it is maintainable and adaptable in the future. So semantic naming technique will help you with that. So instead of naming it as primary green, you can actually name it as your primary color instead. Or like there's no limit on how the keywords you guys are gonna use, but if it's something that reflects the brand or the consistency of the product, might as well like use the primary. If it's like an accent color or like something that will be only used in just in order to give more accent to your or contrast to your primary, then name it as a secondary color. And then the other one would be the tertiary color, which will only be used very not very often. So for a secondary, for example, for a button, we name it like secondary button, primary button. So the primary button will use the primary color as well. So just in case, like in the future or perhaps next quarter, let's say that the founder or like your product owner would want to change the primary color of the product, all you have to do is to change the color hex code and not necessarily to just to go over all over your like your documentations and change those green like what into red or blue. So that is like how semantic naming convention technique actually helps maintaining I mean keeping your design hand of documentation maintainable. um yeah, so one analogy that I can compare when we say that maintainable design handoff is that to treat the project as a living as I mean as a living thing, like a human, like breathing. So it should be able to adapt and able to evolve over time. So creating your handoff, of course, if there's a documentation for guidelines and usage, labeling properly, labeling your components and its states. So what are the states? Like hover states, disabled states, error states, typing states, field states. Those are like just different states that you're gonna be very specific to your developers as to keep the all the elements consistent within the product. So like what will happen or what will the behavior of this product if there's a loading element. What if after submission, what's the behavior of the product? Are we going to show a loading icon just to show that user, to show to the user that the app is working, right? So I think like there are apps who doesn't just include a loading icon in their buttons as well, or like perhaps like a screen that is actually showing that the app is working on it, just loading and accepting your submission. So if you're not gonna include it like the loading states in your app, it might like get misunderstood by the user, like especially in the Philippines. Like what if like, oh, I'm gonna be misunderstood that my internet is like going off, or it's getting slow, or the app is broken. So yeah, those are just like some example and states, and I will introduce to you what redlining is, and then also like creating breakpoints later on. And after the handoff, it doesn't really stop. Like the design handoff is not something that actually ends. It should be a process that progress and evolve. So I believe that there's no such thing as like, yeah, we end it here. In the tech industry, or in this like the type of industry we're in, it will always be evolving. There will always be something better, and there will always be a lot of techniques to find out. The same with your design handoff. There will be a lot of the type of handoff you can create. You can create like different template for it. Depends on what type of product it is. Is it like a software app, a mobile app, a landing page? There's like just different kind of techniques or an approach for those different kinds of or types of product or projects. So yeah, for the tracking of the progress and how can you able to have this overview. I had this like sample Notion Kanban board. Notion is also like an application or like a tool, note taking app. It's actually the Notion. It's quite famous, so I hope that Karen's kind of familiar with what Notion is. So I followed the roadmap. I think like roadmap practice, or like the analogy of like the roadmap process. So roadmap are typically used for type of product that are like application, very commonly used. So I thought like I think like I just like, created this previously as just set an example inside like our company, and I had this like landing page and how to make it easier for both the, I mean, for the entire team taking care of a landing page conversion. And we have this one page where we can always visit and like see if like there are problems, there are blockage in the team, what are the bugs that the QA had found, and what are in progress, what are not started. So I use the roadmap analogy for the landing page that we actually like trying to convert. So this example is like I just got the HOV.co, our company website. So I treated the all the pages, the home page, the about page, companies page, and career page, or our blog page as epic. So it means that their feature, if I'm gonna say, or if I'm gonna translate it into a software application, epic is like the feature. So I treated each page as epic, and also like added the requirements in there, and then what the requirements would be, what the homepage will be containing. So there's like the logo mark, the co-found, about. So these are like the menu that we needed. So these are like typically the pages. And then what are the sections? The hero sections, the CTA, the career button. So in this one as well, like we added like the copyrights. So when you have like landing page, the copyright is one of the like the most important element in there. And once we have this, we I treated the requirements, I say like the requirements as tasks. So if I'm gonna add a task, it's actually gonna be keep on showing in here. For example, this one, I assign the epic to homepage. So it means that if I click this and visit the homepage, the copyright would be also available in there. So everything that's added in this epic will be shown in here. So it's just like very easy to navigate. And yeah, so this is just like simple like Kanban board that allows us to track our progress. And yes, then next one is yeah, the demo. Let me just switch quickly with my screen. Mm, Okay, so I hope that I'm sharing my Figma. And before I jump off to to the um to the like how to create a simple style guide itself, we actually have this one like the thumbnail. One of the example that we have is this. We have the status. These are like our project inside like an internal projects files. So all the requests, like for as you can see, like there's brand guidelines, meta information, the design system. We have this, and then we have added like statuses, the versions. Also like this one is what project it is under, and then we also added like tagging. It's getting pixelated, but yeah. So it is like just for us to be able to know in one glance when we visit all our projects in the homepage of Figma tool, like what is this file all about? Like in a one glance, it would actually give us idea and avoid like opening multiple just because we're finding a specific files. And if I'm gonna set an example on the status, this one, it's actually a library that we've created. So you can see the design exploration, the design ongoing, approved, design approved and handoff. So if we're gonna have this design to development, so it means that the design handoff is ongoing and then completed. And we also have this do not use. It means that it's an outdated like type of files. We just like really don't want to like delete any files. Instead, we archive it and put it like in there for future reference. So let's have this go back to design development, and then yeah, for the semantic naming that I told you, we have this practice on how to set up the pages. We have like the green, yellow, and red. We followed I think the traffic light. Everyone's familiar with traffic light, right? So it means to stop. It means that nothing else gonna be like to work with, no pending work. So for yellow, it means that proceed with caution, ongoing, or waiting for approval. And then for green, it means that the design is actually ongoing or the design handoff is ongoing. So we follow the traffic light colors analogy in order for us to come up with page status indicators. And that's why we have this kind of setup in all like, and if it's application, if it's landing page, it actually allows us to like know if this one is good for conversion, like on development side. um it also like the red one would be something like no matter what happened, like just don't use anything in there because that's broken. So red means do not use under any circumstances. So it's just like allowing everyone to see in one glance and able to like translate what's happening in these pages and avoid like jumping from one another that wastes everyone's time. So yeah, let's begin with the landing pages. I just like prepared like a very just really simple landing page that I actually got using her library. So if you are like creating a landing page, and let's say that you cannot, this is like non-existent, and if you're a developer, And like for example, I'm a designer and just like, hey, I converted it, and then I just gave this to you. It's just like you have to assume all the time, what's this one? I know that the inspect is there, but it's just like, are you really for sure wanted to um like I really for sure like wanted to keep your developers just like going inspect and like trace this, trace that. I know it's available in there, but we want everyone in the team to have this convenience and just like one glance they would be able to know like the guidelines and what are the limitations and how to use those visual elements, right? What's the behavior of this? Like if I hover this, what will happen? So maybe this one may be like simple, but if you're gonna be in, if you're gonna like as a designer, if you're gonna put yourself in the developer's shoes, they'll be, like in their, perhaps in their mind they'll have like a lot of like assumption that happening, and then it will end up you being unhappy as a designer if they don't follow whatever you have designed. So for us to like make everyone's life a bit easier, so there's no such thing as easy in this industry, correct? So you create the style guide. So this is just a simple one. So there's like the color system. As you can see, I have like added some of the we have added some like just definition, like very straightforward definition. So we use like the primary colors, the hex color, and then some just take a brief like a brief it like meaning to this. So we have like also the secondary color and then the typography colors. So we want to narrow, like currently we are actually like doing some narrowing down. That's something that we are working on the company. And then we have like icon state, like we know that there's like active and inactive icons. There's also like the surface. The surface is like more in the background. Colors, surface color, and the outlines and divider. So outlines is like the stroke, and then the system color. I think we're missing the green here. So sorry. There should be something like a green. I think I forgot to add that. So for the iconography, we just use this like readily. Like I mean, like we don't really see any reason for us to create from scratch. So we have this like hero icons that come. It's actually free. You can definitely download it. It's one of the my favorite icon for over the past years. Like my favorite icon that I would say that like I always like like recommend to use because of how proportion it is. So I'm gonna show you later on like what's proportion for iconography, and then yeah, just like give them some instructions at near developers. So for the type system, we have this header one. So I just like reflected it and this one. These are like the headers, the body, some like captions, and then some header two and header three. So I also like added the like the alphabet letters and how it's gonna look like, and then how's it gonna look like with its like line height, the spacing in between, and then the header, and then the body regular, body semi bold. So sometimes I'm really like not using the bold. I think it's just like too heavy to look at, especially in smaller sizes for fonts. Then we have label, and then we have caption. Very simple one. Also have these like calculations. Like we've included. This one is from the material design. If you are familiar with that guideline, like the platform and Android, iOS, and web. So we have this line height calculation that if your font size is for a paragraph or body, we multiply it with 1.5, where actually the Figma actually could calculate, for example, the font size of this is 60. So for calculations in heading, we calculate it by 1.3. Just to have like basis, it's not like us like it must be followed. It's just the standard that we are following in order to just have a more like I mean faster design decision. So we have this, like for example, 60 times 1.3. So there's like an arithmetic. It's like this one. So you can definitely multiply that and you can get like this line height immediately. So sometimes its result is like 78.2.5. Just sometimes like rounded it off to come up with a whole number. But for me, sometimes I just like don't bother, especially with like fast like design that is being assigned to me. And then for documentation, this is what I told you about earlier, breakpoints. Breakpoints are like different kinds of different dimension on different sizes for your desktop. So on web, 120, 1280 and 720 is actually the smallest one that, I mean, the standard one. But for the safe area, it's, I think it's, yeah, it's 960. So the safe area, sorry, I think I got an error in here. If you're gonna like visit a website, the typical safe area is the 960 by 100, 720. So if this one is like that, within the 960 and 720, it's actually like you can see it in one glance in your desktop or in your monitor. So yeah, so these are different kinds of dimension. So as you can see, the only changing in here is not the layout, but instead just the margin. So and also like the scales of all visual elements in there is just the same for the web. So if you're gonna look this one as a developer, you can see that okay, the margin is the only one that's keep on changing and nothing else. I don't have to adjust this. I don't have to adjust the spacing in between of these elements. And yeah, so for medium size, these are the tablets. So breakpoints actually helps you like determine when will the layout be changing. You know, like some of the apps right now are actually designing into like mobile first. Example like Facebook, Twitter, social media. Actually, they switched to a mobile first because like a lot of people are using mobile. Not everyone are installing their apps, but instead they use their browser. So they consider those and then they went for a mobile first design. But for a landing page like this, you have to also consider for example, your visitor that most of the people conveniently just want to see it via their phone. So the medium sized screens are actually for tablets, and you have to determine the scaling in that. So you have to, it means that you, for example, in the style guide, these are like scaling for, these are the scaling for web, I would say. But when it comes to, if we're gonna like complicate it a bit, when it comes to like mobile, you have different you have different scale for your mobile, right? For header one, it's still header one, named header one, but it's smaller on mobile view. So those are like just recent, I think recent discovery that I have when I was studying design system, like creation of design system. So for if we're gonna, let's name this mobile. So if we're gonna say mobile, mobile has like um mobile, let's choose the iPhone. So this one, if I'm gonna use this kind of layout, it's too big, right? It's occupying the entire space. So it means that you have to translate something. You have to scale down. I mean, when I say scale, it's not like very fixed. Yeah, fixed px. It means that you have the standard scaling if the website actually detects that the device is small. So you want to have your header one scale down that fits this small device. So how can you do that? You may want it to be 48, and then you want, or like smaller than this, let's say like 40. Let's go 40. And then you can on then 40 times 1.3 because it's a header. So it means that if you're gonna copy the properties of this, it means that it's copying just the properties. I just want to copy the properties. Okay. Oh, okay. Anyway, delete that. It means that your um, header one would be this. So it has like different, I think, your font size should reflect as well. So there's a difference between the font size of, and let's just copy the, I don't know, the CSS of this, or taking inspect. Okay, so this would be your font family or your font. Right. So all right. Okay. So from web, that is actually a like 60. It means that the header one for your mobile is going to be scaled down into 40. So that's like how you do like the typography scaling. I didn't just include it here because it's kind of like can be a lot to explain, so I didn't cover it that much. Anyway, so yeah, that's for the mobile. And the next one, this is the breakpoints. Okay, I hope you're still following. So if you're gonna go for redlining, how will be able to let the developer know that how much margin would this be, how much like spacing in between. So typically, when I go for spacing, I follow the for web, I follow the 8 grid system. 8 grid system means like by 8, like 8, 16, 24, 32, that. So for smaller devices, I follow the 4 grid system, or need the need to have like smaller spacing. I follow the 4 grid system. You can actually like research the 4 grid system and 8 grid system. It actually helps you with a faster design decisions. So, for example, like, oh, create a button for this one. So I would just have this default in my mind that, okay, I'm gonna follow the grid system, and then I'm gonna go for 56. And then over time that you can actually like keep on using this kind of system, you'll be able to memorize this like can we have a sample feedback? Yeah, I can like send this one to you. I can send it to you, but okay. So right. I didn't know that someone would be very interested in this. Anyway, this one is the redlining that I mentioned earlier. This is actually like the library that we've been using for so like I think for 4 years, 5 years now. It's like one of my favorite library. It's very simple, very straightforward. It is actually created by someone, Anton Lapko. So it's helpful. This one, these are like red lines. For doing it's red lines, literally. There's this one, the extension line, the dimension padding, and this like notes and spacing. So there's also like cursors, also like details, and they have colors. So as simple as it is, it's actually like giving a lot of impact. So when you use this one is published. So if I go to my library, you can see that the red lines library is available. But of the favorite part I love about this library is the extension lines. So whenever I have to red line something like a design very quick, like just for example within 3 minutes or 2 minutes, so I just use extension line just to like give myself focus. So yeah, for example, this one, I'm gonna grab this, and then I'm going to like redline this, and then so it means that the developer would actually translate that the margin for this kind of like width or dimension is it means that it's 112 px. So it's by px. Fortunately, Figma only has a px for their unit of measure in the here, but for the ruler, I think they have a lot. I'm not so sure, but hopefully they could also. adapt other unit of measure like REM. So I noticed that some of our developers uses the REM, and REM is very friendly when it comes to scaling. So yeah, so I think there's just discrepancies on my there's actually a like ready-made library. Okay, they're actually napaya nila ako. So anyway, just don't bother with it. I haven't really checked. Okay, napahiya ako ni ano ni Tailwind. So all right. So this one would be 112. It should be like 112. Let's just remove all their like auto layout. They have like a lot of auto layout in here added. So it should be like 112. And then for this one, let's say that I want that to be like the padding or the spacing, right? So or let's use a um some spacing. So I'm actually using spacing for this one. Oops, it's actually okay. Let me just like freeze this one because it's adapt like it's automatically included in the auto layout. So it's ruining the design. So I have this. So it means that the spacing in between for this one is 12. So that's 12px. So it will give the idea of for developers that they have a I know. Okay, so they have the 12 and spacing between. And then another thing that we also add is the dimension of the button. So let's go for the button. Let's use this one. And then, all right, so the button has Mhm. Okay, it's pixel by pixel. So it has like width is 139, but sometimes I just like round it off to 140. But this one I think because of the auto layout, so it's adapting whatever the content is inside. That's why it's 139. And then another one would be its height. So we add a height in here. So you don't have to overdo this, by the way, because like some would overdo this and then every piece of it they just like add and it kind of like it ends up not really so friendly with the eyes. So if you're able to red line one button, then like a primary one, then it's enough for the developer to know that okay, the primary button would be this and that. So if you're gonna overdo it, you're gonna end up something like this, which is really like troublesome to see, right? So it's not very friendly anymore. So that is one cause of handover failure. So you have to be very careful when you do redlinings. Never overdo it. So you can also have this, and then it means that you have 400 like what's 425. Though you can have like a default one, correct? So if you create your style guide and your buttons, for example, if you have buttons in here added, oh yeah, like the style guide, let's ano na lang. Let's get, yeah, I'm gonna show this to you as an example later. What is this? This is a design system which is like kind of um, can be complicated. So I haven't really introduced it first. Let's get a button family in here. Just to fasten all up since we are in a time limit. So if you have a button, um, okay. So if you have buttons included, yeah, buttons is one of those. So if you have this one, it means that you can actually redline. You can add like a usage or specification in here, included in your style guide. So it really depends. As I've mentioned earlier, it's not necessary that you have this documentation page and have this one. You can include it as part in your style guide and put it below in there. So it means that this one is 40. So you can tell your developers that the primary button has a height of 40. Buttons are flexible by width, but when it comes to height, you can actually define it as has a fixed width. So yeah, I'm not be like going through with all of this. I just want to give you an example on how to red line. And yeah, you can also add, for example, this one. This is like a group of elements, right? So you can add actually more like spacing or like grids in here. Some people also like add grid system in there. Like in like the 12 column, they use that, but I'm not really a fan of that because there are sometimes that I have to just defy it eventually. So I'm not like a very fan like use of those 12 column. Though it is something that I can use as a basis, but not strictly following it, like constraining myself, because it's just like constrain or limit my creativity on the element placement. So instead of following those like column like this layout grid in Figma, I just chose to follow the 8-bit system and like place the elements in a better, like like better manner in how I think it should be presented in the screen. So this one, for example, they have like 66 in between, and then like over time you can define here as well in different dimension. So the same way with small, you can define this one like this, like the spacing in between. I believe that in small screens there's also like they also adapt like smaller height in the button, and if it's larger screen it adapts like larger height in button. So I think like I have explained this to you. If you want to like talk to me about it more, then like further more, then of course like just let me know. You can I'm gonna give my contact later, and also I just have this like simple demo because I can give you more overview by using this one. I think this is the best one that I could give. This design system is actually something that I created when we were working on a mobile app. So I just like quickly created this. Um, I hope you still have time, right? Yeah, right. So yeah, okay. So I think almost time up. But anyway, for example, for this iconography, I decided to create like a specification anatomy. This one is following the analogy of material design. That's something I'm really a fan about. They have like the best documentation. When I was studying both iOS and material design before, because like I'm trying to create like an app that is following both platform, and so we end up a hybrid one. But right now we're decided to like have them separated. So for example, this one challenge that I have in here when I was talking previously, I think it's like 2 years or like a year ago, is that they keep on telling me like, the height and the width is not like the same for this for that. I was like, yeah, because icon grid system are following proportion and not specific height. So I have this like visual proportion to maintain consistency. So we have this if it's square, if it's circle, as you can see, it has different grids, following grids, right? So if it's vertical, and if it's okay, thank you. Okay, if it's like horizontal. So as you can see, like the hero icons is actually one of my favorite because of how proportioned their icons are. And yeah, you can go to our heroicons.com. This is not my talk is not actually it does not like sponsored by anyone. I just really love these libraries. Aside from the style guide, I have this type system that I hand over to them. So you can see the font, the weight size, letter spacing, the line height as well. So I think one lacking in here is that giving them example and pairing, fun pairing. As I did this like year ago, I guess. So it would be nice to have an example, like visual example to your developers, similar to like this one. This one is like the simplest that you can use, but if you really want to add like more specification and really have it like a documentation handed over to your developers, then add like something this, and then also scenario or example and usage. So yeah, the touch point as well, I've added that. Drop shadows, I only added one. I really hate like the drop. I'm not really a fan of drop shadows, so I told them like if you want drop shadows, then follow this one. So also the grid system, I have this grid system that actually created. If I'm gonna activate the layout grid, this is how it looks like. So smaller device follows 4 column, medium device follows 8 column, and large device like the web are following the 12 column. And when it comes to margin, the least for medium is 24 px. The least for mobile is 16 px, and then the web is instead of margin, the web is following a standard of container. So it's like the web actually like works differently and has a standard that's on its own. So this is like different width for devices. So I have this 320, the smallest one. If you have like an iPhone 4 still exists, I think like they have like 320. They're the smallest device that I think still existing. And I also added like a landscape mode. And yeah, that's for the style guide if you want to. So I also like added here apply to hero icon. So I told them that the standard is 20 by 20 instead of 24 by 24. 20 by 20 is following four grid system. So you have the square, you have, if you're gonna go closer, so you can see there's like grids in there. Circle, the vertical, and the horizontal. If you're gonna go for elements, this is like sort closer to a design system, guys. So, but it really does help your dev. So for this one, I added like anatomy. I have this drop shadow. I have this text label, and of course the icon, which is optional. Um, I have the outline button, and it's just like, yeah. So I just added like a lot of more details, specification. As you can see, with contain button, I even like added something like zoomed for the radius, the corner radius of the button, and very specific on that because I can actually, if we're gonna have this and copy it and then change the radius into 6, I can actually detect that the difference is like very visible. And I'm like, no, like you're using not 4, I think you're using 6. So I can see there's like really quite a difference between these two, right? This is 4 and this is 6. And yeah, so I have to be very specific on them. And yeah, so I added margins. Okay, so yeah, so yeah, I think we're running out of time, but I think I've explained like the basic one. If you want the copy or the link of this video file, just hit me up on my email. It's Estella at hov.co. I'm gonna switch a screen and show you my contact details. Let's go for my Windows. Okay, so my slide. So yeah, I think I've explained. So just tips for breakpoints. I think I mentioned this earlier as well. So it's 960 by 720 for the safe one, and then for this one there's like desktop, tablet, and mobile. Then the max speed, and yeah. So I have quiz B. For everyone. Are we gonna get like um answers from the comments, right? Correct. So Oh, I already have the first question. So yeah, for the first question, sorry, I just like kind of okay. For the first question, like, can you guys give like two examples of visual elements present in style guide? I'm just gonna send answer to the organizers to help me any like two of those visual elements. Mm. Are there like yeah, you can like I'm sorry, I'm boring you guys. So if anyone knows the answer, then I can definitely send you 200 Gcash. It's just I think most. Okay, so John Paul Patrick. Yeah, John Paul Patrick. First like send um you have to like send your Gcash number and your name to the organizers. Okay, question. Like I just have only three. What's the ideal height and width safe zone for a web in any desktop computer? Mm, I sent the answer to this just to help me. Does anyone know like what is the ideal height and width that's a safe zone? It's in PX for web on any desktop computer. Oops. Hmm. Height and width. I think may mga late na nag-send, no? Hmm. Some people actually send a correct for height, but for the width, mhm. Five, four, three, two, one. Okay, I'm gonna consider the okay. So, but it's repeating. Oh, si John Paul pa rin. Okay, we have like I know like John Patrick Compress. We have like Kevin also has got the correct answer. We can have Kevin and share the share the the prizes. Okay, so for the third and last one, like cite at least like one example underlying causes of handoff failure. I can just check. There's actually like quite a bit. Just really depends. John Patrick Combras. Bawal po yun. I think like we can share the we can have you a winner naman. Hmm. Francis. Okay, Francis, I'll consider your answer. Too many red lines. Of course, those are one of the causes. So, yep, I think like I'm all good. I'm done. So we can have like our QA session. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. I reply on LinkedIn, Stella at UI. Stella UI, and then my email is Stella at HOB. And of course, like I hope this is okay that I'm plugging that we are hiring designers. Just visit our career page at hob.com. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Estella, for that enlightening and insightful presentation. Knowing that many of our participants and viewers are from various types of courses that involve technology and have expressed interest in the future trends of the IT industry. So, this is the most exciting part of our sessions tonight. We are now opening the floor for questions from our participants. So,
Mhm.
we are now take for the first question from Ichigo. If If a client wants so many things and it contradicts your team's professional recommendations, yung client pa rin ba po ba ang masusunod?
All right. So it's actually, I can say that I have several experience with this one where we actually strongly go against of this with the client because like they want this and that. Of course, plans can be challenging to deal with, but it actually depends on your culture in the company, let's say, and like what are your principles as like designers. For one thing is that for me personally, when we have these kind of clients who are actually quite it's definitely challenging because they don't have this creative like mindset, so they don't understand what we're trying to convey, like why is it not working, like it's gonna cause trouble in the future. um Meeting them halfway is good. Yes, I know that some would say client is always right, but I don't I'm not liking the fact that we're able, because it's just like if you allow the client to just like always sunod-sunuran kayo, let's say, in that, then if there will be trouble in the future, it will bounce back to you. So I cannot say any right and wrong, or like say straightforwardly just answer your question yes or no. It's a case to case basis. In where I work at, we have this kind of processes that we actually implement whenever we met the client. And then if the client is having a hard time, is if it's challenging for them, then we find like a workaround in order to guide them for this. And then at the end of the day, if they still like don't want it, and then we go to our CEO and like please talk to the client. How can we proceed? So yep, that would be my answer.
Thank you. I hope she answered your question. For the second question from Janrico Estaris, what are the best handoff tools for software development?
Handoff tools. Okay, I'm still kind of confused with the question. Like, when you say best handoff tools, it's the matter of mastery of the tool or the for the one who's using it or handing it off. Okay, so I would say that there's no such thing like Adobe XD or Figma is the best. What other tools like design tools are there available in the internet? I think like tool is just part of it, like for the success of your software development. But the mastery of someone who is using it is actually one like the primary or the key point of the success of this. Right now, I can say if you say like if specifically design handoff, if that's what you mean for a software development process, right now I would say Figma. It's yeah, I think they're one of the there's a reason why they're becoming famous the moment.
So thank you. So for third question from Billiones Kian RJC. Ma'am, aside from the tool that you're using, is there any beginner
Hmm.
friendly designer tool that you can suggest to use for us?
If you're gonna go for a very basic like balsamic for wireframing, that's the all the I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly because I haven't really used it. When I started as a designer, like it was mentioned earlier that I'm a career shifter, right? Figma launched around that time. It's like 5 years ago, I guess. Like it launched, so Figma na yung parang tool na ginamit ko aside from like Balsamic, which is a wireframing tool. There's also like Adobe XD. Some of the I guess like some of the designers that I met actually like using the like Adobe or Adobe XD is one of the oldest tool when it comes to design. Beginner friendly. Figma itself is a beginner friendly, I could say. Very easy.
Figma po. Related din po. So, from Lies Mier, can I ask for the Figma link so that I can copy the drop po?
Okay. Yeah, of course. Like, let me just like publish it in the community in Figma, then you can duplicate it yourself. It will be easier. Just take note on that.
Yes po. Then, from Facebook comments, from Cora Mercado. What was the most challenging encounter you had with a client and how did you deal with it? Sorry.
What is the most challenging? Okay, time zone. That's one. Just recently, I like experienced with an external client. When challenging is when the client doesn't have the capacity to understand the design, like the design as a whole. So they have like lack of creativity mindset. So that's very challenging because you have to. It's like you're teaching kinder, like you're introducing them to something new, so they don't understand or like it doesn't make any sense to whatever you're telling them. That's one of the most challenging that I've encountered. The time zone, because I'm working like it's not supposed to be, but I have to make sacrifice. We have a meeting like 10 p.m. So I have to finish it off so that they can work on it when we give them something to answer. Another one is when I created just really recently created and studied a framework for it just to cater them. It's like a stretch. So created like at 1 a.m. and then I ended up like 3. I have to wake up at 5 because I have to, like, those are like challenging moments that I have in being a designer and encountering a client. Mm,
So time zone po talaga.
yeah.
So, kaya po yan. So, from Facebook comment, from Kevin Paul Almazan, sorry. Are those software or tools like Figma, Notion, and etc. you have mentioned are all open source? By the way, nice cat you got there.
Thanks. Yeah. Um, okay, to Figma. Figma, I don't think so. They are including Notion. Hero Icon, yes, definitely. It's a free library source. Notion has a um, free version, and the Figma as well. If you say open source, it means that you could like contribute a code, right? If I'm correct. That is like how I translate open source. They have APIs, but I don't think so. It's closer to open source. If I didn't like answer your question correctly, then just email me perhaps, and we can talk more about what you mean about open source.
So, email Miss
Yeah,
Estella.
email or LinkedIn. I haven't been really dealing with development, so I'm so sorry if there's developer, like dev side or very techie side. I don't want to answer it badly.
So, just email Miss Estella. So, ma'am, for the last, we are now taking one last question for this session
Okay.
from YouTube comment. This simple style guide is more helpful for designers communicating to the developers. Based on your experience, what are there any times that you argue because you or the dev does not stick to your design?
Of course, there's always like an argumentation in between the design and developers. I think most of the time, but it's just like a matter of how maturely you take the criticism and the like this kind of argument. There would be one example is a most common that we have an argument is the tooling. Designers, like for me, I'm not really a fan of Jira. So instead of like Kanban, they want to use Jira. So like, hey, we want to use Jira for tracking and this and that, but it's actually challenging for me to use the tool. So those are the stuff that we argue. Like, we don't want to use a Jira. Do you have any workaround for this? Can we use Kanban instead? And then you guys can use Jira. And like, no. So those are just like a bit of like not really we coming into turns. But there will always be like workaround on that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Miss Stella. As much as we want to answer all your questions, that's it for our Q&A session.
Okay.
Before before we dive into our announcement, is there anything else you want to add, Stella?
Mm, for like if you want to connect with me, LinkedIn would be the best. Like I'm there every day rather than with Facebook or another social. I'm not active to anything other than LinkedIn.
So, if you want to communicate with her, just link in.
Yes,
Thank you.
I can
Thank
send
you, Miss Del.
my LinkedIn in the chat, but I don't know how can you send that to them.
I think, wait. I,
Okay,
I is there already.
awesome.
I is already. So, okay. Congratulations also the all winners. You will receive a private message on how to claim your prizes. Thank you again, Miss Estella, and thank you to everyone for your questions. Uh, and of course, Miss Estella again. Thank you very much, and
Yeah.
for the very insightful presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And here are the upcoming StackLeague events. StackLeague Angel Hack Manila, Intro to Angel Hack and Community Building on April 27, Wednesday at 6 p.m. StackLeague Coding Chiefs Career Session, Road to Map Senior Programmer on April 28, Thursday at 6 p.m. Since StackLeague is one of the initiative of StackTrack, we are sharing this opportunity with you. The Department of Information and Communication Technology, or DICT, is co-hosting with StackTrack an initiative called Code Your Future, Jumpstarting Your Tech Career on April 29, Friday at 10 a.m. StackLeague UXPH Tech Session, Web Accessibility Done Right, Common Design Gaps and How to Fix Them on May 25, Wednesday at 6 p.m. There are plenty of opportunities for you to learn here in StackLeague. Go to fb.com/stackleague/event for registration details and get the latest updates. To help Stock League team improve the session for you, answer the 5-minute question form, which is bit.ly/, Stock League sessions feedback, or you can scan the QR code flash on your screen. Stock League Ambassador for April is now accepting entries. Earn your ambassador points now. Visit bit.ly/StackLeagueAmbassador 2022. Also, make sure to earn league points to unlock the challenger levels and receive the prizes. So that's all for the announcement. On behalf of the Stack League team, I would like to say thank you to everybody for joining the Stack League GDG CDO, how to create a simple style guide for design development handoff. If you don't have any Stack League account yet, make sure to sign up now at stackleague.com. And of course, invite your friends and your family who you think should be part of this league. See you guys at the next Stack League event. This has been your host, Jewel. Good night, everyone.